A couple of days ago, the United States Air Force unveiled their newest bomber to much fanfare, the Northrop Grumman B-51 Raider. This has, justifiably, created a great deal of excitement, including, I must admit, in myself, as this is stated to be the first 6th generation aircraft to enter service. In the blurb released by Northrop Grumman about the new aircraft's capabilities, the company states that the Raider will provide the, quote, backbone of the future for US air power. Well, perhaps one day, but not in the immediate future, because that job is going to continue to be done by an aircraft that has long been predicted to head for the scrapyard, but which continues to prove invaluable for the USAF. The B-52. And the Buff, as it is affectionately known, is undergoing a major upgrade program that is so comprehensive that it will probably justify an entirely new model designation, possibly 2, and potentially see the aircraft serve well into the 2050s. Considering that the B-52 first entered service in 1955 and the last production aircraft left the factory in 1962, that's quite a claim. The Buff has served in practically every conflict that the United States has fought in since it entered service, from the bruising bombing campaigns over Vietnam right up until the war in Afghanistan and the interventions in Syria. Seriously, there is at least one family on record where 3 generations of service personnel have flown the B-52 during their careers. And though the B-52 may be positively ancient, its sheer capability in terms of payload and range, a result of its design being focused on carrying heavy and bulky nuclear payloads deep into the Soviet Union in the early days of the Cold War, well, that means that as a bomb truck that can loiter over a target at altitude for hours, there are still few aircraft that can match it. Naturally, the B-52 has undergone numerous improvements over such a long career, with the final version, the B-52H, still providing the primary long-range bomber force for the USAF, despite more modern aircraft such as the B-1B Lancer and B-2 Spirit coming into service, both notionally with the idea that they would replace the old Warhorse. But despite the B-52's age, it now looks like the type may possibly see out the 2 later generations of aircraft that were intended to replace it. The USAF and Boeing are conducting a program that will see not just the lifespan of the venerable Buff extended yet again, but will likely justify the aircraft being updated to be redesignated as either the B-52J and or K. In fact, according to Colonel Louis Recita, the senior material leader for the program, the update will be the most comprehensive that the aircraft has ever had. All told, it is anticipated that 76 B-52Hs will be updated to the new standard, and though details are somewhat sparse, here is what is known. The primary change is to re-engine the old aircraft. The B-52H's ancient TF-33s are being replaced with the Rolls-Royce F-130. These will produce the same 17,000 pounds of force as the older engine, but will be vastly more fuel efficient, have digital control systems, and require less maintenance than the much older engines. Though the stated requirement for the engine replacement was purely to get rid of the TF-33s, which after all hasn't been built since 1985, and there was no official need to improve the B-52's performance, the new engines will increase the old bomber's already very respectable mission range and make them cheaper to operate. The second element of the upgrade program is in altering the sensor and electronic fit of the old B-52s. Artwork of the new aircraft released by Boeing indicate that the aircraft's nose is to be redesigned, returning it to a sleeker profile closer to that of the original models of the aircraft when it first took to the skies in 1952. The B-52H has taken on a somewhat warty appearance, with its nose hosting several protuberances that house passive night vision systems for the crew to conduct low-level night intruder missions, which became the B-52's primary intended role in the 1970s and 80s. Instead, the new sleek nose will house an AN/APG-79 active scanned array radar that is the same as that used on the US Navy's F-18E Hornet. The change is also indicative of the mission profile that the new B-52 will be expected to undertake, and indeed have actually been conducting for the majority of their careers already. High altitude, long range weapon carrier. The new radar will give the B-52s better situational awareness and improved long range targeting, and will allow the nose to be, as said, more streamlined. The new B-52s will also see their cockpits altered, being thoroughly modernised and digitalised, a sharp contrast to the existing B-52H, which still has a lot of dial gauges for the crew to read. This update to digital systems will in turn allow for the removal of one of the crew. Other changes to the electronic system are the addition of 2 humps added to the aircraft's back, and though their exact purpose hasn't been stated, it seems likely to be an enhanced satellite communication system. And recently, the USAF also gave an indication of what the B-52's new role will be. At the beginning of December, they confirmed that they had taken the first steps to validating the loading procedures on the existing B-52 fleet for the new air-launched rapid response weapon, the ARRW, which is the United States' first hypersonic weapon. This is provisionally scheduled to enter service in late 2023 and is likely to provide the United States with one of its most formidable weapons in the inventory. Details are again nebulous, with speed projections of the weapon being everything from Mach 5 to Mach 20. But what is certain is that it will provide the United States with a long-range standoff, very rapid reaction capability. The B-52 has already proven to be the testbed of choice for the development program on this new munition, and it does seem that the buff will prove one of the primary carriers of the weapon. Indeed, the lifespan of the updated B-52s may now prove to be linked to that of the effective service life of the ARRW. And so this leads on to the question of just what the updated aircraft will be designated. As already said, this is the most extensive update the B-52 has ever seen in its long lifespan. In fact, the talk of there possibly being 2 new designations shows just how fast things are actually moving with this. At the moment, the airframe and electronic improvements are comparatively easy to accomplish, and it seems that these are proceeding at the moment. So it seems possible that aircraft with the new nose and weapon capability, but retaining the old TF-33 engines, may become the B-52J. Although the re-engineering project is a priority, the integration and testing of the new power plants requires a greater time span, and so it seems that once this is completed, the rest of the old H models will be converted to B-52Ks, with the earlier Js following suit as they too are re-engined. Naturally, military procurement is always subject to change, and there are some that have questioned the logic of investing money into airframes whose roots date to just after the Second World War. But it seems that regardless of such opinions, the B-52 is going to likely see its 4th, and possibly 5th, generation of crew flying the old bird.